So we're gonna do the fill check on the Duct Blaster B model. And we're kind of doing the same checks as we did on the blower door. We're gonna do a visual check of the flow sensor and the housing and the tubing running from the flow sensor to the port. And we start off by our visual inspection. You're just making sure that this steel tubing, which makes up the flow sensor, it's not bent, don't have any holes in it. This tubing that runs from that steel tubing up to your flow port, you want to make sure it's not cracked or have any holes in it or anything like that. So in this one, when I do a good visual of it, it looks to be in good shape right offhand. But we're also going to check to see if there's any leakage in it. And it's a lot the same as the blower door. We're going to take a piece of tubing, hook it to our flow port, and I'm going to create a vacuum again, and it should hold for 5 seconds. If it holds for 5 seconds, it passes that test. If it don't hold for 5 seconds, further inspection will be needed. So the holes on this flow sensor, they're really tiny and they're on the back side of the tube. So you have to turn the duct blaster on its upside down and look behind that tube on the back side to see where you're taping. And there's 3 of them. And they're kind of evenly spaced there around the tube. Okay, now that I have the sensing ports taped off, and I got my hose hooked up, I'm gonna create a vacuum on this line and see if there's any leaks in it. Alright, so either there's a leak in it or I don't have it taped off well, so I'm gonna double check my tape on here. I might redo that piece. So when I did it, I couldn't feel a suction being created, and when I pulled it off my tongue, it didn't pop like it did on the blower door. So there's something going on here. Okay, so I got it taped off, got my hose hooked up to the flow port, and I'm going to put a vacuum on this. Yep, I just did it a couple times there, but it is holding now, so. I don't know if you can hear that, but it kind of pops as I come off. So what had happened the first time that I tried it, I had too wide of strips of tape, and so it wasn't quite sealing off the holes. And so I kind of went through and just made a little thinner strips of tape that actually helped seal off. So from my visual inspection and just the leakage test, this one passes that test. Alright, so the next test that we're going to do is we're going to check the positioning of the flow sensor in relationship to the housing to make sure it's in the right spot so that it's getting a proper reading. You want to lay it on the back or on its side with the flow sensor facing up. You're going to take a straight edge laid across the housing. And if you take a ruler, and there's it's important for me to point out, there's a little nub right here on the flow sensor, or on the back of the motor. That's what you're going to be measuring off of. That's what they want you to gauge off of. So I'll set my ruler across. Take my measurement. And it's about 3/4 of an inch. So in the range on the Duct Blaster, we need to be between 5/8 and 7/8. So we're right in between. So this one passes the flow sensor position test. All right, so if it was out of those ranges, you'd want to, same thing as on the blower door, you take off this cage housing on the back side, and there's a motor mount inside of there that you can loosen up and adjust and pull that flow sensor either out or push it back in just a little bit to make the adjustment so you're within the specifications of 5/8 to 7/8. So. Some of the other general maintenance stuff, you want to check the motor and make sure it's not clogged, all the cooling holes in the motor. You're also looking at the wiring, tubing, the housing. You want to make sure it's not cracked. You're just doing a good visual inspection. If it looks like your duct blaster's been dropped or damaged, and the housing and stuff's cracked, you may want to send it in or get further guidance from the Energy Conservatory. So. Once we perform the test, we want to document it. So we'll circle Duct Blaster B, put the serial number, the date the test was performed, the technician, and if it passed the pressure test and the position test.